So this is what's new in 17.1 and 17.0 of ACT. As you know, ACT was purchased by SwiftPage about 2 years ago now, and because of that, they're beginning to merge some of the features of the SwiftPage e-marketing piece and ACT, and so we're going to go over some of the features. 17.0 was released in September. 17.1 came out last month. And 17.1 was rather significant because they released quite a lot of new features with this. So first in 17.0, here's some of the new features over the years, and going up to version 16. In 2009 ACT, they had related contacts and integration with Outlook. In 2010, they came up with the report view. Customizable opportunities. 2011, the first peek at smart tasks, import from Excel directly. 2012, they had Scratchpad, Universal Search, Google integration, Internet Explorer configuration. 2013 was Premium Mobile, social updates, offline smart tasks, smart tasks with a date and field trigger. Version 16 last year, some of the things they did added calculated fields, they added a history view, which I'll show you in a little bit, and continued to make changes to the Premium Mobile. So in version 17, that's some of the stuff that was new in 16. We talked about that. 17 new features revolved around 4 areas. Enhanced e-marketing with apps. And so what they did with this is they began to retire the SwiftPage e-marketing piece that they had in the past and replace that with the ACT e-marketing. And so that's a new product within the product. The benefit for us is that we've got things like a new editor and lots of new things. However, some of the features like the survey and some other things are not yet there, so we're hoping that they show up. The next one, productivity and automation enhancements. This is mainly going to revolve around smart tasks. And streamlined configuration, installation issues, and specifically if you use things like limited access, there's improved ways of accessing contacts for where security is involved. And then finally, there's a new look to ACT. So those are the 4 things that were in 17.0. Briefly, if you look at this, you can see this is the e-marketing tab, and again, this is the ACT e-marketing. So this piece actually came out in 16.1. And so instead of going to the right menu and choosing SwiftPage marketing, now we go to the e-marketing menu at the top, and then or the e-marketing window here on the bottom left. And so the left-hand side here, call list, this shows us the campaigns that we've sent out. The right-hand side shows us the respective scores. And so they've added a few features in 17.1, specifically the ability to do a lookup or to dive into specific contacts, and also to delete call lists. So that was not there in 17.0. It is there in 17.1. So the ACT e-marketing has basically a free version that gives you 500 contacts you can send emails to, and then there are paid versions at $30 and $60 a month, giving you different levels of exposure, and you can pay more for additional emails if you want to. I usually tell people, in terms of why should I use an e-marketing piece when I can just do a mail merge? At some point, ACT by itself is good, I would say, with up to 150 or so emails. I would not use ACT out of the box to send thousands of emails. You're going to have problems with performance, and you're most likely going to have problems getting flagged as a spammer. And using the SwiftPage ACT e-marketing piece is going to allow you to bypass both of those constraints. The timeline feature is kind of cool. You can see it here. And also they've added some integration with Dropbox and Google Drive. Let me show this to you real quick. So if I go and open up ACT, Then I'll show you these features, and this is going to apply to 17.0 and 17.1. This is the timeline feature, so we can actually go to a contact record and see the timeline or the times that we've talked. And so down at the bottom, you've got these sliders, and you can spread out and get more information or drill in. You can also filter this by the dates, by the type of activity. Reset dates goes back to where it was. So that's timeline. The piece where we talked maybe about Google and is going to be in the area of the attachments. So if we go to the Documents tab, if we go to the drop down here, we can now make a link to a link, and in here you can put a Dropbox or OneDrive or Evernote file there, and that'll work. Google Doc, things like that. So that's kind of cool. SharePoint. The other areas here is the Smart Task Automation, and so basically what I can do, if I send an email letter out, I can send I can organize smart tasks in such a way that if somebody scores high, so we'll go back to our previous slide here. Some of our scores here on the left-hand side, let's say everybody with a score of over 320, we can schedule a follow-up activity for the rep in their territory if they have a high score. And so that automation piece is kind of cool. Can't really show this to you, but let me tell you, Outlook sync options, we've got the ability to sync one way as opposed to syncing two ways in the past, and that is a lot of times better because someone who's doing it two ways would fail because the data had some issue with it. And so now we can go one way only, and that's good if you're trying to get your ACT data onto your handheld. ACT Premium Mobile is a light version of ACT for Web, and it is optimized for with an HTML5 client and works on smartphones and tablets. And so they've added the ability to attach photos to the ACT contact record from ACT Premium Mobile. So that was part of 17.0. Streamline configuration. This is kind of cool now. If we have read-only, if you've got some users that need read-only access, and this might be the receptionist that needs to look up a phone number, or I've got one company that the sales team uses ACT, and then everybody else in the company just needs to kind of be aware of what's going on. So read-only licenses are free now. So if you have a team of people and you know, they don't need to make any changes, they can't do anything, they can't add notes, they can't change phone numbers or add new contacts, they can just look stuff up. But those people are now free, you don't have to have a license for them. Some updated features inside of ACT for Web is the ability to do an import, the ability to create a remote database, and the ability to customize fields from ACT for Web. So they're narrowing the gap between the ACT for Web product and the desktop product. With 17.0 and 17.1 under improved global improved global preference management, what we see with that is that they are gradually moving the preferences from the individual user's app data folder to the database itself, which means if you log in under different machines, you don't have a whole different set of preferences. The preferences are in the database, and so they're gradually doing that. Another thing that they've done is they've hidden inactive users from drop-downs, and so here's what we had in the past. If I went to my task list, and if I had users that are inactive, you'd see them all here. Well, I can go now to Tools and Preferences, and let's see if I can find it. I always forget where I put the thing. Oh, I'm sorry, different place. It's under Tools and Define or Manage Users, and here's the place to hide inactive users. So now, if I've got former employees or people that hadn't been there for a long time or anything like that, You don't have to look at their name all the time. So that's kind of a neat feature. All right, so let's keep going. So with Act for Web, now you can import CSV files, not Excel files like the desktop, but CSV files, which should give you some ability to do some imports. The fresh new look, we've seen you basically got new icons, new logos across the top. Hopefully modernizes the look of the program. All right, so that's that's an old spreadsheet there. So let me go to the 17.1 piece. Okay, so this is the contact timeline that we already talked about. Hiding active users we talked about. Here's 17.1. So intelligent e-marketing, here's some things they do. There's a new template editor. So if you when you go to create a template inside of Act e-marketing now, there's a new editor that works for that, and they're backfilling that to 17.0, 17 or 16.1 and 16.2. And I've not used it much, but it's greatly needed. So remember I told you they're retiring or obsoleting the Swift page e-marketing, and they have created Act e-marketing. And so they started with a very streamlined product, and they're gradually adding features. And so this is one of the new things that they've done is a new editor. And hopefully what that gives us is a way now where you can customize these HTML email templates by just click and drag or modularizing the process. You can still import a HTML file if you want, but the template editor is going to make it easier for those of us that don't really spend a lot of time in HTML. So these are things inside of the call list that we can now do that we could not do before. So when we do an Act e-marketing campaign, basically we could see the score results, but we couldn't do these things. So now we're able to select contacts of people that have particular scores, create activities, create histories, create a lookup, or delete call lists. All of these from the Act e-marketing tab. These are features that were added in 17.1. So if you've got 17.0, if you update your program to 17.1, you'll get those features. So basically with this, I can now make a link to a folder and to a document. So I've got the ability now, if I want to link, make a folder inside of my Documents tab. So let's say I've got a customer folder. I can open the entire folder instead of a specific document. And this is in addition to the feature that was added in 17.0 that gave us the ability to add hyperlinks to like SharePoint and OneDrive and stuff like that. So the feature that's added here is the ability to add a folder to the Documents tab. Let me see if I can show that to you in just a second here. All right, so here's my database, and so basically what that means, I can go to my Documents tab here, and we've got an extra option. So in 17.0, in past versions, we could do a file, we could do a shortcut to a file, and they've added these too. 17.0, they added a link or a hyperlink. This would be great if you're trying to link to a Dropbox folder or a OneDrive folder, and then they've also made a link to a folder here. So if I want to make a link to my, let's go to my Downloads folder. And Let's pick that one. So I'll just take this link, go back, hit add, hit shortcut to folder. You can browse to it. Here's there, and here's downloads, and excuse me, and here's a particular folder. Excuse my cough. So now I can get to it that way. Alrighty. So this is kind of a big one, especially as laptops and tablets, especially like the Surface Pro. The Surface Pro has kind of unique dimensions to it, and so prior to this, we had a hard time having folks be able to see act within a monitor like that, within screen resolution. So they made a change where machines with large fonts or high DPI settings can now view the screen. So if you went to the display properties for your monitor and expanded the font size in the past, that caused all sorts of problems, and they've addressed that. So if you got a newer laptop, or like a Surface Pro or a Yoga or an X1 Carbon, some of these that have just really high monitor resolution, this is a feature that will help you view the ACT screen a little bit better. Again, 17.1 and 17.0, they had the option to do a one-way sync between ACT and Outlook. And in 17.1, they added some ability to log and see kind of a log of what happened. It's also easier to configure, and they changed some stability options with that. Hey, I am checking the question pages here. So one of the questions was, do you know when the Swift page email piece will be phased out? And I have not. I would expect, my best guess is maybe a year or so. But what they're not doing is they're not going back and patching it and updating it. So we're seeing people kind of move over as the features that they want are available in the Active marketing. I've seen just some improvements in terms of just stability, and but I'm waiting for things like the surveys and some of the landing pages and stuff like that. One of the things you can do, actually, I'll take that back on landing pages. You can make a landing page in 17.0 and just go to groups, and here's lead capture, and you can basically create a web form here, and then put from that, put that on your website, and as people fill out that form, that data will go back into ACT. So that's kind of cool. On the big buttons, so there's basically these big buttons at the top here. Here we can move these around and get rid of them now where we couldn't before. So that was excuse me, that's new in 17.1. Sadly, I didn't figure out how to do that yet. So it's something they say we can do, but I've not done it yet. All right, hold on just a second while I go back over. Global preference management, we talked about that. So for larger ACT deployments, web info, basically there's things that preferences that are moving inside of the database itself at the server instead of on the individual machine, and so that's really going to be helpful for bigger groups. What you're going to see though, if you update, is that you might have to reset some of your preferences. So it might seem annoying at the beginning, but gradually when this is done, it'll make administering a database a lot better. So we talked about this already. So the call list improvements you can do, selecting contacts, creating activities, creating histories, creating lookups, and deleting call lists are all things you can do. I think, let's see if mine's working. I expect that to fill out, and I haven't looked at this in a while. So as you go here, you go to log in, see what lets me in. Oops. Oh, still I tried this, I got an error, so let me see if it works. So we're kind of split. Half of us are using the, in fact, Grace that sends these out is still using the Swift page piece because they haven't set her account up yet. And then when I do it, I send the ACT email piece. But here's some things that you can do that are new. Here's a campaign that I have now. At the top, you can see this X that lets me delete a campaign or delete a call list. So, for example, this one down here that I accidentally sent out that had nobody respond, I can just delete that now. I couldn't do that in the past. And then, so let's go back and we'll access this older campaign that I made. Some things you can do now on the right-hand side is you can see these buttons here. So I can do a new history. I can schedule an activity. I can create a lookup of just these. Those are all new. And then under options to the right, customize columns, you can add and remove things there. But if I want to do a lookup of these contacts, click a button, there they are. So there's minor things that they've added to this, but it's kind of the ongoing morphing of bringing the new features into the new product. Yes, those are those new features. Automation and productivity enhancements. We talked a little bit about this. I showed you how to link to a folder, so that was that. URLs, basically, we talked about the high-resolution monitors. So basically what that means, if I go to right-click on my monitor, go to screen resolution, in the past, if you've gone here and changed this, move this up, move this down, we only could take something that was set at default. And what they're saying that they've done now is made it where you can zoom the font larger, yet still keep a monitor resolution. See what people do when they buy these big monitors, is they zip it all the way to the top like this, and it makes the text seem really small. So that is an advertised feature with this. I've not tried it, but it for example, my laptop, I've got a Lenovo X1 Carbon, and the resolution on that is just incredible. But what it does, if you kick it all the way up, is it means everything looks really small, all your fonts. So that is a feature that they've long been requested to fix. We talked about Outlook sync changes. Big easy button changes, you can move those or take those out. Now you can't customize them, you can just add them or remove them there. Preference management, we've talked about that. Again, if you update, you will have to redo web info links and some other preferences, but it's just a one-time thing as those preferences are moved inside of the database. Drop-down lists. So what they've done is they've made the ability to customize drop-down lists in Act for Web. You can modify these at the same time you do field creation, and you can manage them in Act for Web, which you couldn't do at all. So on the desktop product, it's easier to create or link a drop-down list to a field with the web version, you can now, not only is it easier to create and manage them, you can create them and manage them where you couldn't at all before. This is kind of cool. You know, one of the more common things that we hear from people is, hey, I did an import and nothing showed up. And the reason that's going to be, if nothing shows up when you do an import, is you're duplicate checking. Well, so you had to stop your import, cancel that, go back to tools and preferences, and duplicate checking, and set your duplicate checking parameters again. And so now what you can do within the import wizard, you can configure your duplicate checking. Now, why do we need duplicate checking in an import? Turning it off means that everything gets brought in. So ideally what we want to do is we want to say, as we import records in, what makes, when should I skip it versus merge it or add it? And that's based upon some criteria. And so we might say, well, if the name and the address and the phone number are the same, then import it in. What if you don't have a name? What if you don't have an address? What if they have a different phone number? Then you make duplicates. So duplicate checking allows me to make a judgment as to what most likely is going to signify that a contact record is a duplicate when I bring it in. And that's going to depend on your data. And so it's more convenient now to be able to make that judgment and make that setting change within the import wizard instead of having to exit and cancel out and go change it again. This one I'll show you. I'm not sure I like it yet. So this is administrative notifications, and basically what that does, if I go to Tools and Preferences, Admin, hold on. Oh, here's Notifications. So I can turn this on and put a note, and it might say, hey, team meeting at 10 o'clock or things like that. It just pops up on people's screens when they log into ACT. What I'd like them to do someday is to put instant message into ACT where you can do chat, but that's not there. This is just a way for the admin to notify people on the team of some note. So yeah, it sounds great. I'm not terribly excited that I'm going to see a lot of use out of that, but there you go. So default history settings. Oh, this is a nice one. Tools. So in the past, when they started the Outlook integration, anytime you made a history, it defaulted to an appointment. And so now they've set it to where it defaults to a call, which is what I want, but you can actually change that within Tools and Preferences. You can tell it what default activity you want when you create that. So that's new, and that's something that's helpful again. Oh, this isn't a big one. So for the last several versions, at least I guess the last 6 or so versions, ACT installed SQL 2002. I'm sorry, 2008 R2. Before that, it was SQL 2005. But since Microsoft has updated SQL over the years, the current version is 2014, I believe. And so now when you install ACT, it will install the more current SQL. Now, if you already have SQL, you're going to have to uninstall it and reinstall it. It's a little bit more fussy. But if it's a brand new machine and you install ACT for the first time, it's going to install the most current SQL version. Now, if you've got a mixed environment where lots of people have different machines, you want to put your server at the lowest version of SQL that your other machines can support. So, for example, if you've got some older machines that have to have SQL 2008 or already running SQL 2008, you want to make sure to put that on the server. If you don't, here's the problem. If you install ACT on SQL 2014 and then make a remote database that has to sit on a machine with SQL 2008, it won't downgrade. So you can only upgrade. Like I can make a remote database on a server with 2008 SQL and put it on a workstation with 2014 SQL, and I can sync, but I can't downgrade. So the server needs to be at the lowest version of SQL that is in your environment. So important to note that. All right, those are our features. I'll stick around for questions if you'd like. I know it was a lot of PowerPoint, but I wanted to kind of cover a lot of the new stuff that's in this version of ACT.